Now, let's have a look at the Newspoll today. The coalition has received, or Peter Dutton, a major boost because the primary for the coalition has now lifted to 40%. Peter Dutton is also closing in on Anthony Albanese in the Better Prime Minister poll, jumping 4 points. Now, Steve, the coalition needs a primary of at least 40%, probably 41% to be in a winning position. But it looks like, judging by the momentum over the past year, Peter Dutton is slowly inching there.
Slow and steady, and the point about it is that he's now in a position where he can say in an election campaign to every Australian, do you feel better off now than you did 3 years ago, which is the line that Donald Trump used to get elected in the United States. And of course the answer to that question is no. And so you've got now Peter Dutton in a position where he's competitive. I mean, I don't think anybody, the coalition included, and Peter Dutton particularly, are getting ahead of themselves. They know there's got a hell of a lot of work still to do. But Peter Dutton now has the perfect opportunity. You've got to fight this election on policies, not on past records. So he's going to fight it on cost of living, immigration in particular. That's the other issue that people are really upset about. And, of course, energy policy with nuclear thrown into the mix. So I think Anthony Albanese, after a horror couple of weeks where he's had, the upgrade drama and the holiday house, he would have woken up this morning, picked up his copy of The Australian and thought, oh, God, I've really got a problem now.
You see, that's what I'm not sure about, because even when we could all tell that The Voice was going to be defeated, Joe, Albo was still, even privately to you, insisting that he was going to win.
I don't know if I've ever...
But surely at this point, Albanese once boasted he'd never lost a Newspoll, but even surely he must be getting worried now.
I would certainly never reveal any private conversations I haven't had, but certainly I can say the one thing that troubles me most about Albo is his confidence, and that even when, and you need that to be a politician, because you need that Albo.
I'm not saying you did, but you were on this show. On this show saying Albanese says he's going to win.
But he is very confident. He's very confident, and he's often, in my view, too confident. And obviously that confidence was misplaced in The Voice, and that was something I was saying publicly, that this is,
delusional would be a word I'd use.
Yeah, that's right.
Agreed,
and again,
Steve.
I think this is a useful wake-up call. I mean, there was a school of thought among sections of the Labor Party that the great strategy would be to demonise Peter Dutton and make him Australia's Donald Trump. Well, that doesn't look too bright now, does it? Because in that scenario, Peter Dutton wins in a landslide. And I think also it is a reminder, and Albo and the government have been very good about this. Since the Voice really burnt their fingers, they have been concentrating wholly on bread and butter issues, wholly on cost of living matters. They have not been distracted by any other, quote unquote, sort of woke or ideological agendas when there were issues around, naming people's gender or sexuality.
Are you talking about Dutton here or the government? The government hasn't been focused on cost of living at all.
It's given tax cuts to everybody. It's supported wage increases.
Let's have a look at Nancy Pelosi.
Childcare, free TAFE. But point being, they have learned their lessons. There are a lot of lessons to learn, and if they just stick to the centre, they'll be all right. And this hasn't been. Obviously, Labor is going to get bad polls.
You get it, Joe, but the government has not learned its lesson. There's no question.
Take my counsel with my time.
Right. Now, Nancy Pelosi has blamed the loss at the election on President Joe Biden. Have a look.
Had the president gotten out sooner, there may have been other candidates in the race. Kamala, I think, still would have won, but she may have been stronger, having taken her case to the public sooner. The anticipation was that if the president were to step aside, that there would be an open primary.
Steve Price, it is true that if Biden would have stepped aside earlier, a proper primary process could have been run, a stronger candidate would have been found. It probably wouldn't have been Kamala Harris.
You get a proper primary, you get a proper candidate, which wasn't Kamala Harris. But Nancy Pelosi, I mean, who needs her as a friend? I mean, poor old Joe Biden. I mean, we all felt sorry for Joe Biden for years as he stumbled up the stairs of the aircraft and couldn't remember his name. But Pelosi was sitting there that whole time, and they let him hang there on the branch. And finally they had to cut him down. But to now come out and say that, I mean, I feel sorry for Joe Biden, to be honest. I mean, that is a disgraceful behaviour by someone who has, worked off the back of Joe Biden for years.
Look, he should have stepped aside earlier. He was thrown out ultimately by Barack Obama and by Nancy Pelosi, but also this loss has exposed all the infighting with the different camps, Joe.
I have no sympathy for Joe Biden whatsoever. It was outrageous to think that he would run again, given his age and obvious cognitive decline. I don't think anyone expected that would happen except for Joe Biden, and perhaps Jill Biden has a lot to answer for because she seems to be the one who is sort of juicing him up and giving him his talking points and giving him a little pat on the back like a toddler when he actually got something right. I thought it was the most embarrassing spectacle I've ever seen. And the idea that you would torch the entire Democratic Party's chances, maybe for a generation, bring back Donald Trump, who, by your own reckoning, is the most dangerous president in US history. I don't believe that, but that's what they say. And they were prepared to actually roll the dice on that and bring it back with a candidate they knew couldn't beat anyone else. So they maybe let lured Donald back into the nomination, or otherwise fail to find a better candidate who could have beaten Donald Trump or someone else. And they did all of that, by their own admission, brought the most dangerous man in the United States back into the White House just for the sake of one man's vanity, one man's personal legacy project. Torch the entire party for that, torch the entire country for that. And they say Trump is the one with dictatorial, anti-democratic tendencies. Give me a break.
The reality is neither Joe Biden nor Kamala Harris would have been able to win against Donald Trump.
Hopeless.
And the reason the Obamas, in my view, took so long to come out and endorse Kamala Harris was not because they wanted another candidate. They probably wanted Michelle Obama to run it. And you can see that by the books. Right. I mean, reading between the lines. And I did read, by the way, her most recent book.
She didn't want to run, but they wanted her to.
I strongly believe that she does want a political career, just judging by reading her book. Anyway, time will tell. Joe Hildebrand, Steve Price, thank you both so much. Joe.